So speaking of eye test, today obviously was the first game that Carolina
My
played.
eyes are sore. They're bleeding. My eyes are bleeding.
So give me your guys' thoughts, if you guys have any, on the interim head coach, Perry. Give me his last name, y'all. Fewell. Yeah, give me your thoughts on him.
I wanted to gouge my eyes out today watching that trash because it's unfair to even assess the job he did today. It's the same Jimmys and the same Joes out there, and it was ultimately the same result. We got nothing different than what we have gotten the last 5 or 6 weeks, man. So I can't even make a proper judgment or assessment on Perry Fewell because. What was different today?
So if you can, Rodney, you go before I ask the question.
I'm rooting for you, Perry, from Belmont.
but you'll be a coordinator next year somewhere.
You'll be a coordinator somewhere. You're behind the 8 ball. You know this ain't your job.
I wish you all
the best.
So because of the current makeup of the team that we have right now, and nobody who's there obviously can make sugar out of this shit. No. Do you keep him going into next year to give him a fair, legitimate shot?
No. And the thing is, it might not even be fair, but I mean, fair is something you find with pigs at it. It don't matter if it's fair or not. He won't be here, and it's pretty clear Tepper is gonna make a major overhaul this offseason. So
it's much needed.
So with that being said, do you guys have in mind any head coaches that you're looking at?
Oh, you don't say.
So we're gonna let Rodney take this one because he was pretty anxious about this.
So I wrote down three options that came to my mind. The first one is Eric Bieniemy.
Okay,
he is the offensive coordinator for Kansas City. I'm intrigued by coaches that come from the Andy Reid tree. They can be innovative offensively. Tepper has mentioned that he would like to go with a more offensive-minded coach, which me and Vince agree with that we need to do. We need to change things up. The second guy is Greg Roman from the Baltimore Ravens, the offensive coordinator. You see what he's doing with Lamar Jackson. He's shaking things up, and analytics is part of his game. And the third guy, it pains me to say this, but this guy turns around programs. He turns around programs.
Say it, man.
Jim
Harbaugh. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He was 44-19, a .695 win percentage in the NFL. He's winning 72% of his game at Michigan. I mean, they can't beat Ohio State, but he's a damn good coach, man. It's only going to be for a short time.
Now
look, Jim Harbaugh is the Larry Brown of the NFL, dog. Without the title.
Now, real quick, when Harbaugh was in San Fran, who was his quarterback?
Colin Kaepernick.
Okay, cool.
Hold on.
Alex Smith.
It was Alex Smith, but he saw something. He knew, hey, I can use what Kaepernick does well, and we can ride this train until the wheels fall off.
Quick question.
And
wasn't Greg Roman his offensive coordinator too?
He was, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
Greg Roman was an assistant coach with who? Carolina Panthers. 1995, 2001.
He was.
Which is interesting because there was only 2 coaches on my list, and they were Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman. I swear to God, those are the only 2 coaches I had in mind, man.
Of course, we know they're not going to pick any of those coaches.
Yeah.
Of course not.
Now, again, Rodney said it earlier. I'm all about. I think we need offense now. Have we ever had an offensive-minded head coach here?
We have. George Seifert, and we see how that turned out.
Yeah.
That was pretty bad. However, to add some context to that, George Seifert, you have to understand, he came from, you want to talk about the diamonds of the diamonds in the San Francisco 49ers in the late 90s, mid-90s. You couldn't tell him anything. And listen, this commentary is actually coming from a player that I've heard speak about George Seifert.
The game passed him by.
The game passed him by, but you couldn't tell him that. You get what I'm saying? He had all this success in San Francisco. Him and Bill Walsh pretty much built the West Coast offense. So how are you going to tell somebody who had that much success, hey, man, you got to switch it up? You get what I'm saying? So, yeah, the last time we had an offensive-minded coach, it was him, but not the most what do you call it? Not the best guy to work with. So.
Yeah. I understand. Yeah. I don't really have all the analytics, but I looked into Chris Peterson. He just stepped down as a head coach for Washington, the Washington Huskies. And
that'll be the guy we hire.
Yeah, exactly.
I went and I kind of I took a quick glance at him. He seemed he would be a good fit for what I want, in the coach. So
talk to me about it.
I'm not gonna lobby for him. I'm only throwing his name out there because if we do get him, I can like throw that in everybody's face.
Listen, I have a curveball here. I don't believe we're in the running to get him. I don't even know if the guy's going to leave his current job. But what if Lincoln Riley showed some interest in the Carolina Panthers?
It's not happening.
I don't believe it's going to happen. But what
I don't
if?
think so. He's only been in Oklahoma for 3 years.
But what
if he leaves, it's going to be for the Cowboys.
But what if?
If he does it,
I have one question. Could you not be excited about Lincoln Riley and possibly working with Cam Newton next year? Would that get you excited?
Hold that thought.
All
We
right.
will come back to that in a few minutes, all right? But since we're talking about head coaches, I want to shift gears and talk about another head coach in the NFL that we talked about a couple weeks ago, okay?
All right.
So we had a topic, we had a conversation about Mike Tomlin.
So we're done talking about the game?
so hold on. I have a question.
sorry.
Okay, I have a question for you guys.
I mean, cut y'all.
So I was listening to the radio on Thursday or Friday, and my neighbor so happened to call in, and he actually works with the Top Cats, and so he poses.
How do you get that job?
Well, you got to be fit.
No.
Like,
Okay, so he worked out. Got you.
Counts me out.
No, I'm not gonna go there. Cancel me out 3 times. But he says that Ron used to give the Top Cats pep talks. Everybody in the building was sad and everything like that. And he asked an important question in the head coach: how much does their character matter, especially for the community of Charlotte?
Right.
Seeing as we've been a family-based organization.
I was gonna say real quick, whoever Tepper picks has got to be more than an X's and O's guy, because the people. It's funny, coaches get fired in the NFL all the time, and never have I seen players from other teams that used to play for that coach come out and publicly speak about how much they love playing for that. Even Josh Norman, who was riding the bench in
Who
Washington,
is deteriorating in Washington. Yeah.
He was like, hey, Ron Rivera, everything that he meant to him. You just don't see that a lot. So whoever comes in as a coach, he's got to be more than just a guy who is good at coaching football. He's got to be, a high character person like Ron Rivera was. So that's gonna be important. That should be important to Tepper.
I want to make one more quick point when it comes to that. And I'm sorry for this. I mean,
No, you're good. Go.
The quick point I want to make is I find it interesting how Panthers fans and sports fans in this town in general, I don't want somebody who's going to be nice to the players because they all thought Ron Rivera was too nice to the players, which I don't believe one bit. But you get a guy like Jim Harbaugh, who is not a likable guy at all, but who is a hell of a coach. I just wonder how that would work in the community of Charlotte. So,
Well,